Hello Internet, it feels like it's been a while, but I'm finally back after an exhausting but fun week. We're finally continuing to expand this channel by diving into the slimiest channel of them all, Nickelodeon. Honestly, Nick was probably a little more influential in my formative years than Disney Channel was, so why start anywhere else than with the top 10 best shows? Nick has had so many shows over the years, way more than Disney Channel, so picking just 10 highlights only a fraction of the total. So, make sure to share your own favorites down below. With all that said, let's jump right in with number 10.
Nickelodeon. Fresh out the box. Stop, look and watch. Ready yet? Get set. It's all that.
What better way to start the list off than with every 90s kid's favorite sketch comedy show? Unlike similar shows such as So Random, this show was actually rather timely since it predated YouTube and likely set a foundation for many of the young YouTubers today who specialize in skit-based hijinks. It definitely still has that 90s cheesiness about it, but classic skits like Good Burger and Super Dude are still funny today. New seasons brought in new cast members for better and for worse, but I'll always remember the first 3 seasons as the peak, and TLC on the theme song just completes this show.
Are you ready?
This will likely be one of the more divisive picks on the list, but I do believe this show actually has a great deal of quality. It's a young but solid cast. Almost all of the moments, both the regular ones and the emotional ones, feel genuine, like they could actually happen. There's a lot about this show that is very standard as far as teenagers being teenagers go, but I was always invested in the characters, and as most of you know, it's the characters more than anything else that sells a show for me. And it probably wouldn't surprise any of you to know that the geeky science whiz known as Quinn was my favorite character, with Chase coming in as a close second. And let's be honest, PCA sounds like an amazing school. Who wouldn't want to go there? One of the most hilarious and imaginative cartoons of all time, and an absolute staple of the network. Just like SpongeBob, this show has been around for eons, and for good reason. It's got this very specific style of humor that loves to be over the top, but also just a little bit inappropriate sometimes, while also masterfully utilizing sound editing to set the tone for certain moments. It also lays claim to some of the best specials Nick has ever produced, with Channel Chasers and Abracatastrophe being among the greatest. It would be higher, but I don't think the more recent seasons stack up nearly as well, similar to complaints I hear about modern SpongeBob, but no one can deny that it lasted this long because on its best day, it's one of the greatest cartoons of all time.
Yeah, right.
Speaking of best cartoons of all time, this show wasn't just imaginative, but the whole idea is the big wide world beautifully captured through the eyes of infants, most of whom can't even speak to adults. Most of the show, from its artwork to its vivid imagery to the grandiose way it captures the world, is an intentional metaphor that speaks towards how babies might actually view the world. It can be a fun time, but it can also be interesting to think about the world as they see it, which is why I think this show lasted as long as it did. I'd rather not talk about the failed All Grown Up spin-off show that completely missed the point of the original, but I think most of us would agree that a Nickelodeon list without Rugrats would just be incomplete. One of the most powerful and meaningful children's cartoons to ever exist. How many other cartoons can you name that handled the repercussions of the Vietnam War? Yep, it's in there. Even with the less geopolitical topics they engage in, they handle them with a very particular tone and direction that makes it feel like it really matters, and it's probably one of the best scored cartoons on that end too, giving off a very blues, jazzy feel that's well aligned with the urban environment the characters reside in. At its best, it can be humorous, entertaining, emotional, and well thought out all within the span of 15 minutes. Not to mention, there's at least one really great episode for almost every minor character, including one of my favorite episodes of the show that focuses on Phoebe's love for a foreign pop star.
Hey, Arnold! Nickelodeon!
From the same genius that brought you Fairly OddParents is this gem of a show that's all about the title character capturing ghosts. It has a lot of the same comedic beats as the Fairly OddParents, which is to be expected, so you already know it's going to be funny. But what puts this show over OddParents for me is the hero factor. Back in the day, Nick wasn't really known for creating a lot of superheroes, but they got this one very right by giving us a hero with ghost powers, something unique and open to a lot of possibilities. All the elements inherent to making Danny Phantom an engaging hero work wonderfully together, with his powers continually growing and advancing, the score always perfectly matching the mood, and his enemies ranging from comedic to serious. Everything about this show functions well. Whether you like it or not is another story, but it goes without saying that I definitely recommend it. The nearly infallible Dan Schneider strikes again here, with his third show represented on this list so far, the first two being All That and Zoey 101. This show had some of the best humor I've ever seen, and a lot of diverse ways of showing it. A lot of shows focus too much on just a handful of jokes, based on the quirks of their characters, but D&J always felt like an expanded version of that comedic style, as well as utilizing more aspects of their situations to create humor, but they do have a lot of help on that end. Helen as Josh's overbearing boss is perfect in her role. Megan is a lover or hater character, but I always tended to like her schemes, even at the expense of the brothers. And the title characters themselves are great in their roles. Drake is a controlled amount of oblivious, and Josh is smarter, but more of a spaz. But since they are brothers through marriage, this show doesn't have to convince me that they love each other through blood, but instead convinces me that they love each other through bonds, which for my money can be just as potent a love. They go through a lot together, but they always come through for each other since they aren't just brothers, but friends as well. This show helped define Nickelodeon for a good while before iCarly took over, and it was always a fun ride. But there's still 3 more shows that I believe top it.
And like the cycle of the seasons, the cycle of the Avatar began anew.
This show is so great that between this and its predecessor, it almost transcends the network. The way they handle complicated political and spiritual matters, the way they frame and develop Korra's antagonists, the way that every major decision in one season has implications for the next. This show thought about everything. It would take days to dive into all the specific ways this show works, both as a continuation and a show on its own. But if you've experienced it, I think you'll understand. The characters we get are pretty great, but I think the villains are the major selling point for this show. From Amon to Kuvira, every single one of them has their own unique motivations and reasons to be acting in their particular way, and all of them feel distinct in their presence and how they choose to handle Korra and Team Avatar. You could easily make the argument that this show could or even should be number 2, but just barely edging it out was this Nickelodeon classic.
Oh, here it goes.
Not surprising anyone is a top 10 appearance by what I think is Nick's all-time funniest show. Kenan Thompson and Kel Mitchell might just be one of the greatest duos to ever do it. Heck, they have more chemistry with each other than most married couples do, and that's a testament to just how well they work together as a team. Every setting that they find themselves in, be it school, Kenan's house, or Rigby's, brings with it great jokes and engaging interactions. But one of the best and most unique parts about this show is how they always interacted with the audience both before and after each episode, and those moments were always fun and always capped off by the very memorable
Here it goes!
But before we get to honorable mentions, let's see how many of you remember this gem of an episode.
Drop the screw in the tuna! Drop the screw in the tuna! It was me! Oh, the humanity!
nations lived together in harmony. Then, everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. But I believe Aang can save the world.
Avatar is not only the greatest show on Nickelodeon, but I consider it one of the greatest shows of all time. It's damn near flawless in every respect. Likeable, engaging, and dynamic characters, including my personal favorite Zuko, who goes through the most important and most dynamic change of all the characters, and the way it's handled is nothing short of spectacular. Everything, from its score to the martial arts inspired styles of bending, are incorporated beautifully into this show. The characters all go through powerful experiences that shape them and allow them to grow, like Katara with her blood bending and later with confronting her mother's killer, and Aang struggling with whether or not to take out the Fire Lord in order to save the world from him, and before that, struggling with the guilt he felt about running away from home, and even Sokka, whose mental and physical capabilities are always tested, but he too develops into a strong and capable leader who is beyond pivotal in ending the war. The creators behind this masterpiece got nearly everything right, as the show gets better and better with each of the 3 books. I know that they made a movie out of it, and I equate that movie to a hurricane, in the sense that they are both disasters that cost millions to repair, and nobody feels better after having experienced it. But this show, this inspired, captivating, wonderfully animated, and colorful world brought to life by the vision of 2 geniuses, can best be described in so many different ways. So for now, I'll stick to calling it number 1. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, help me out with the likes, subs, and share it all over social media. And don't forget to follow the Disney Brain on Facebook and Twitter for updates. Links down below. I was going to review the new Stuck in the Middle episode, but I don't think there's too much to discuss there. But I still might look into the newest Disney Channel show, Backstage, if enough of you really want me to. But coming soon will finally be the Cheetah Girls review after way too long of a delay, and the top 5 worst Nick shows, amongst other videos. So, lots to look forward to. Until then...